Dear colleagues, today we will present some results of an ongoing project financed by the Bulgarian Science Fund with leading partner University of Economics Varna and supporting partners University of National and World Economy and the Dimitar Tsenov Academy of Academics Svishtov. The title of the project is Sustainable Urban Development, Regional Differences, and today we will, for some reason, yes, today we will present the current goals of the working packages we are working on, and they relate to the development of a theoretical model for sustainable urban consumption, also the development of set of indicators for measurement sustainable urban consumption, and finally to identify regional differences in terms of the scope of sustainable urban consumption, its structure, and the influencing factors. The object of the study are the SUC on both household level and city level for the three cities, Sofia, Varna, and Svishtov, respectively, representing biggest city and medium-sized city and smaller city. To the current stage of the project, we have already developed the theoretical model. Based on this model, we created research tools to measure the sustainable urban consumption on both household level and city level. We have gathered most of the data, but we still face difficulties on gathering a lot of data on a city level, and I'm going to explain a little bit about these difficulties. And at the end, of course, now our research teams are working on the analysis of the collected data, and we as the younger representatives of the researchers will not actually present statistically proven data, but we will give insights on the direction of the results that we are acquiring based on the collected data. So, speaking about the theoretical model, it comprises two general sections. The one is the structure of the sustainable urban consumption on a household level, and the other section are the influential factors for these types of consumption. Because our time is limited, of course, we will not go into too many details, but I'll just briefly point that the structure of the sustainable urban consumption comprises 5 consumption clusters or consumption areas, and respectively the weight they have within the impact on the environment and the society is listed in the way we have listed them: housing, food, transport, consumer goods, and respectively waste management. The influential factors are grouped into several categories again, including psychological, social, habitual, institutional, which relates to legislations, regulations, marketing activities, etc., socio-demographic, and so forth. So based on this theoretical model, we were ready to create our research tools, and at present we have created a structured questionnaire, which is about 11 pages, really comprehensive questionnaire. It was a lot longer though, and in the phases of our study, we pre-tested it and narrowed it down to respectively to this size. So here we have included the informational bodies within the questionnaire. We have the section identification, with which we define the profile of our sample. Then we have a section measuring the actions within the households, which includes information about the consumption in the housing, in the field of food, transport, and waste disposal. And then we have a section measuring the knowledge of the consumers within the households about this phenomenon, and also the attitudes and values. For the city levels, we rely on information from public registers, but the thing is that at present there is no universal tool to compare the improvement of the different municipalities regarding this issue. And what we did here, first, of course, we started with literature overview and checked out what our colleagues worldwide are doing. And based on that, we proceed to the next stage to read secondary data sources, all possible documents that we could find on a national and local level. And here the difficulties started, because even though there are unified national programs that should be followed by the municipalities, the different municipalities have different programs and different strategies, plans, respectively different indicators to measure sustainable consumption. So our challenge then was at least from all these documents, to extract the indicators, to point out which is the responsible institution, so that next we can contact this institution and get the information. It was beautiful, and our list of indicators comprised of 625 ones. It's a really big one, and we were really motivated. But when our colleagues who were responsible for contacting the institution started this phase, we were like, oh my God, we have a problem here. And the problem now, I will start from this part, then I'll go back to this part. The problem was that, unfortunately, most of the institutions, including we started with a nationally representing most of the institutions didn't support, or at least didn't provide us with data on a city level. But for the purpose of our research, we cannot work with data on a regional level or municipality level, because we do not include the villages. We just work for the urban environment. So that was the first problem. And with this ambition, with these many indicators, the next ambition was, let's gather what we can get. So now we are just trying to, probably we will be faced with the assignment for the summer to knock from one door to the other to collect indicators like Pokemon. And we still have not given up, on the idea eventually to create this tool for unified comparison between the municipalities. For the household level, we didn't have that problems. We created, we ran a survey, of course, and our respondents were chosen by the use of a quota sample. The indicators for the quota sample were the number of the households, so they were, kind of representative from each size of the household, and the age of the head of the household, who is responsible for purchase making within the household. We ran a pre-test interview with 2,245 respondents to test our tool for time, understanding, and also to gather additional ideas and suggestions from the households, what else could be included in the questionnaire. So finally, we've created the tool and we ran the online survey of 1,049 respondents. Now, this is because probably our time is running. These are some of the indicators showing the profile of our sample, like place of living, household size, children to 18 years of old, working members of the household, unemployed members of the household, education, etc. There are other variables as well. We have chosen them based on previous research results that indicate different consumption patterns based on these. For example, the more educated people have more sustainable consumption, which is proof in some researches, in others it is not, so we'll see what will happen in ours. And for the first section of the questionnaire, the sustainable consumption actions. As I said, we are not providing statistically proven data now. We are just providing insights about the situation. We can see from these graphs that the Bulgarian households live either in small or medium-sized homes, mostly medium-sized, from 50 square meters to 100 square meters. And the difference between the three municipalities, the main difference is as follows. In Sofia, more people live in smaller-sized homes in comparison with the other two cities. In Varna, though, more households live in longer spaces, you know. So here the hypothesis why we chose this indicator, the main hypothesis is that the bigger the space per capita, here I'm not presenting it per capita, but per capita, the more resources are required to maintain this home, so the consumption is less sustainable. And the next example that I will show relates to the acquirement, the acquisition and the usage of things and improvements for saving energy and water in the houses. That's why we wrote SUK for sustainable consumption in the three cities. What can be seen from the first graph? Here, I'm sorry for these percentage points. They show percentage points of the answers, not the cases, but I'm going to tell you what the cases are. So the most popular sustainable activity within the households is the care for the windows. You know, aluminium, PVC, or wooden double blazer improvements on the windows to save energy and water. And about 87% of our respondents claim that they do that. The next one is energy saving and lighting, exterior plaster or claddering of the building. They are about, the first one around 60% of the 73% of the respondents. Then the next ones around 60%. Also appliances are economical in terms of energy consumption. Half of the respondents, 50%, say that they have thermal isolation of walls or floor. And now, not to waste your time anymore, the other statements of different improvements are less representative or have less penetration within the households. Least popular ones is the use of solar panels. And from the graph below, considering the average number of things and improvements used per household in the three cities, we can see that the initial data indicates that more cities in Varna, more households in Varna have more sustainable practices. And now I will give the floor to Veneta to tell you more about our insights or our findings about the knowledge, attitudes, and values of the consumers.
From this slide, you can see what are the statements of our respondents about sustainable habits and their attitudes towards sustainable habits, what they think, not their behavior. And here you can see that they mostly agree, 57% is, or the green one is strongly agree, and this one is just agree. The majority agrees that sustainable habits are good and good predictors for sustainable urban consumption. So, in comparison to the slide before that, the people are aware of their impact on the environment, but they don't really implement it. And here we see a gap between habits and knowledge of the consumers. So you can see that for the three statements here, reducing consumption is important for sustainable development. They agree. So they know that if they reduce their consumption, it will have an impact. But if we ask them who really does reduce consumption, probably the percentage of people would be smaller. And the same is with buying organic, or in our case, we also had a question about if they do buy from local farmers, they agree that it has an impact, but if we ask the question the other way around, probably the answers would be different. So we have a good knowledge here. And also about recycling, they strongly relate recycling with sustainable consumption. Here we have a split on the 3 cities, and as you can see again, consumers agree that in general, for these 3 questions related to local farmers again, recycling, and the impact of our behavior on future generations, they agree that it has an impact and that sustainable consumption is a way for a better lifestyle. Probably we could discuss here the discrepancies between the groups, but as you can see, they're really small. And maybe in the middle, I would like to pay attention to this comparison, because here we have people who are in the gray area, so they are neither agree nor disagree. People are not sure if their current actions are going to impact future generations. So here we could suggest two probably options. The first one is they're not willing to do it now for future generations, or they just think that this is something last to do, and we could prevent it with production and other phases that go before consumption. So this is an interesting insight at the moment. And if we want to see the reason behind this, as my colleague mentioned, we collected a lot of demographic data. We could try to look into the educational profile of our sample, which tends to be representative because we have asked people from different ages, different educational profiles, family size. So we have aimed this data to be representative. And here we see 2 trends. The first row, 6, is for people who hold a Ph.D. degree. So these are the very smart consumers. And the 2 here is low educated people with pre-primary education status. And here you see the greatest levels of disagreement on the 3 questions from 2 slides before. So these groups, they may be small in weight, but they show a trend that people in the end are more skeptical for different reasons. Probably the low-educated people just don't see the link between consumption and results impact on the environment. And the other one are just too skeptical because they don't see the governmental support on this issue. And I would like to finish our discussion with this. We are still in the process of analysis, and at the end of the year we'll have it reported, and our results will be final. Thank you for your patience and attention.